So I feel there are 5 things that can make building a home, decorating a home, modifying a home a lot easier in Elder Scrolls. I'm going to go through those in this video. Now you do have your obvious controls, hitting right on the D-pad and hitting your B button simultaneously will take you into the edit window. And once there, you can pull things out of your inventory using the X button. Then it's going to give you the general placement. And when I first started, that's how I was kind of placing stuff and trying to line it up. I didn't even know about the precise editing function, which is a really great tool. We'll talk a little bit about that, but you just simply hit the Y button and you can really delve down into, exactly what they call it, precision editing. The second thing that I like to do that makes building construction a lot easier is using the lines that ESO gives you. So I'm real quick to put down some kind of flooring platform, and it's going to have some lines, and hopefully they're straight lines or patterns in it that I can use to line up what it is I'm trying to do. Whether it be, set some stairs, put a wall together, put a wall on a wall and outline how this building is going to be shaped, I will use little things like that. And so in this second Doom chart that I've been building, and we're going to use it as our example for how-tos, I use that very back platform to start lining up things. And I just simply started with the front archway and just lined that up and centered it, and then started building out from there. The other thing that I like to do is always keep in mind perspective. So I've spent 5 minutes lining up something and getting it all done and attaching it to another wall, and everything looks perfect. And then I walk around to the other side of the wall and I can see that one side is not lined up at all like I thought. And so you want to go and use as many vantage points as possible when you're building. So I may take 2 big platforms and tilt them at 45-degree angles so that I can walk up them and take a look. Or you can see that I've set up a couple of stairs right here that I can use to stand up, and I've just been kind of moving it further and further back away from the house as it's starting to get higher and higher. And that helps me to be able to look down onto it. But at a certain point, this thing has gotten so tall that I can't look down on it anymore. And that would bring me to letting you know that what I'll do is I'll build it on the ground, and then I will simply use the precision editing to raise it up and put it in place. So that way it's down in an area where I can see what's going on and be able to fine tune it as best as possible. Next, you want to be familiar with the furniture categories. So you'll see several of those under the editing feature. You just hit your X button, and with your RB and LB buttons, your right and left bumper, if you will, you'll be able to scroll through those different categories, whether it be in your inventory, or you want to hit your right bumper and go to purchase and buy something from the Crown Store, or hit your right bumper again, and you'll see those other options. And all the way over at the very far right are your settings, and that's where you can open up your house for other people to come and visit. You can also open up permissions to allow people access, visitor access, where they can come in and look around, or they can turn lights on and off, open doors, or full decorator privileges where they can actually move things around, and you come home and your funny friend has attached all of your furniture to the ceiling now. That's awesome. Ha ha ha. I love you. Now I get to spend the rest of the day putting my house back together. And that would bring us to the last thing that I really like. And I'm sorry to say that it actually took me a while and quite a few moments of frustration to learn what a wonderful tool this is. If you look in your bottom left-hand corner of the bottom ribbon when you're at edit mode, you'll see undo. So it goes off of when you've hit A to place that item, it's just going to revert it back to the previous spot that it was at. So if you set something out and you fiddled it with it enough that now everything is all wonky, you're trying to spin it left and right, and instead it's going kind of halfway forward and left and right and looking really weird. Well, sometimes it's best just to start over, hit undo, and either it's going to be right where you set it out at the beginning, or it'll go right back in your inventory depending on what you've done. So I will stop and hit place several times when I feel like, oh, I'm almost there, I just need to do this, this, and this, and I'll go ahead and place it so I can use that undo feature to revert back to that point if I get it too wonky and just can't seem to make it fit, and now I'm getting up to the point of frustration. So your undo feature, it's a lifesaver. Definitely a stress saver. So I'm gonna just kind of rough cut and set up when I first get started. And back here at the back, this is the platform that I centered everything on. And I'm just laying out walls to kind of get an idea how this building's gonna play out. Initially when I started, it was just the arch, and this is how the project just kind of grows. So I'm just zipping through in and out of the regular placement option and then the precision editing to kind of just squeeze things a little bit more precisely into place. But again, this is just the rough cut. I'll get in and start fine-tuning the lines and stuff once I get an idea of how this build is really going to shape up. Hopefully my dog won't be barking through this section. Initially, when I came up with this project for the second Doomchar, I was thinking more of a Disneyland type castle. So that was the inspiration here. So we want to have turrets and things. So this circular area is going to be a tower, and I'm hoping to have a couple of spires that will inspire little Disney feelings. Anyway, I'm going to be a little bit more precise as I'm building these, putting these curved walls together to make this tower, because it's going to be a real pain in the butt. But typically I fine tune once everything's kind of put together. Don't get me wrong, I'm not just going to place it out there willy-nilly and the walls and stuff aren't even going to meet up. I'm gonna tweak it, but as far as just making sure all the lines are really crisp and you have a hard time telling where sections are connecting and stuff, that'll be towards the end, right before I decide to start decorating and throwing things in there to make it look livable or lived in. So again, perspective is really important, and I'm just kind of eyeballing this wall, making sure I've got things lined up properly. Now what I didn't do is go on the outside and look at it, which I'm going to find that that's going to be messed up. But if you look at this back pedestal, which I used to line everything up, you can see how we've got a gap on the right, and we're halfway in the middle of the pedestal, or halfway through the side of that pedestal on the other side. So I'm going to have to link all these pieces together and then kind of turn the whole house. And that brings us to rotation. You can see I'm rotating this wall. You have three different increments: 0.05, 1, and 15 degrees. 15 degrees, you hit that 12 times, and that's going to do a complete 180, depending on which direction you're rotating it and stuff. So that makes it real easy, and just do the math. So 6 times will put you at 90 degrees. So when you have to flip things around, and with these solitude walls, they're tapered, and so the bottom is wider than the top. So whenever I'm having to stack them on top of each other, then I'll have to flip that top wall so that the widths match up and it doesn't look weird. That kind of stuff bothers me. So here I'm just playing with the idea and how I'm going to make these towers and throwing that wall, because like I said, matching these curved walls up how I want, and I want the tower to taper as it goes up, it's going to be a real pain in the butt to do so. So this is just me playing around. You can see how this eave that I have in the front is just kind of got that big gap in the middle there. Well, that'll be something that we'll fill out once the rest of the building comes together and I know what that space is really going to look like at that point. Obviously, I'm really playing with this corner a lot and trying to get it perfect, in which there's going to be areas in this castle that, or any castle, any build that you do, that just, no matter what you do, you just can't make everything line up and match. And so at a certain point, you just have to say that's the best it's going to be, and then you play a little game of hide the imperfections. So when it comes time to decorate and I've finished tightening up the lines, then I'm going to have to strategically place curtains and light fixtures and other little nuances to hide that line that I'm unable to tighten up perfectly because now the other side of it's messed up. Now, when you're using your move right underneath where you see the Y underneath the green arrows, that's going to show you how high it is. And I don't get into a lot of those numbers a whole lot because I'm not super double throwdown nerdy, but I will pay special attention to those heights. Now in the doom jar, a lot of the ground is uneven, so sometimes those heights get a little off because it's coming up from ground level. But that is a little thing that I will use as far as the numbers that you see underneath there. And the same thing with your pitch. That's really helpful to match those up if you're trying to, link two walls together. And speaking of linking, you saw that one wall flash green. You put everything together and link it, you can move it all together. You can see that we've advanced a little bit in this build here. And in talking about linking items, I've made this new flooring and it wasn't quite wide enough to span the distance. So I made these carpets, mailed them from my other account, and I want to put them down on the floor to see if I can make them cover this wooden spacer that I've stuck in there, and then center it on the archway too, so that things look symmetrical. So you're just going to lay your carpets out, and what I find is when I have multiple items, I'll just lay them on top of each other. That way they're kind of already aligned, and then I'll just move one out like so. Set it. If everything looks good and crisp and in line, if not, I'll tighten it up, and then I will go and link it. You just push down the left joystick. You'll see link child. You just hit the A button. Now they're linked. You hit X to confirm that link. And now when you go to that first item and you move it, everything that's linked to it will move with it. So it makes it real easy, especially when you have to tweak one little wall and you got to move it 3 inches, and now you got to move the wall that it was attached to 3 inches, and then the next wall and the next wall. If you link all those things, then you can just make that one adjustment and everything moves for you. I find that to be a great time saver, and I do spend a lot of time when I'm putting together a house. So I touched on utilizing lines to set everything, and right here I'm going to see how many more rugs I need to make. So I'm seeing where it's lining up on these little dots on the platform. I'm going to stand there on the edge to give me a little reminder of that's where it was at on those dots. And then I'm just going to move everything down here to the steps to see how much I got to go. It looks like it's going to be a little bit more than one rug, so we may only make one rug and do a different shaped rug to span that one little distance. And now we know. So, these are a couple little shortcuts I've done. So once again, perspective is a big thing, and this is the scaffolding I've set up out front. And I did have it inside for a little bit to kind of help me get a bird's eye view. Slowly this build is growing high enough that I'm going to need a much larger scaffolding than that to be able to do all this. So here I'm just rolling through the different menus that you've got as far as to choose from what you want to put in the house, structural or whatever. And then you have your right bumper and left bumper buttons, and that's going to change your categories for you. So this is the placement category. Then over here is purchase, and you can see all the subcategories for different types of furniture that I mentioned before. And then here you have your settings for your house, and I'll just skip past the retrieve function. And it's going to show you how many slots you have, and I mentioned in the Doom Chart videos that I had 700 slots, but that's because that account is ESO Plus, and you double the inventory capacity of your house when you're an ESO Plus subscriber. I am not advocating for ESO Plus, but if you get into crafting and stuff, it is so nice to have that craft bag. It does cost over $15 a month for that, however. So here you have your permissions that you can set up. And I'm just adding my guilds in here because this is an alt account, but the guilds that I'm in, this will allow those people to come in if I'm over here. And all my friends do know that this is proctologist, not somebody else. Now, if you're not my friend, you might not know that. So again, just letting you see all the different options that you have here as far as visitor access, decorator access. Here you can see the two scaffolds are linked together. If you ever want to unlink something, you just go just like you did before, and you're going to click on the left joystick and you just hit A to unlink it. If you have multiple items, you can go to that initial section that you link to and just hit your left joystick, and it'll give you the option to hit B and unlink all of the linked children. And you won't have to go through 16 different items and unlink each one individually. Now, I did go through and just put it right back together using the undo feature. And here I'm just giving you an idea of the different controls that you have in the precision edit menu. And of course, if you don't hit the placement, you just hit B, it'll revert back to the last spot that it was placed at. Obviously, the build has progressed. You can see the towers coming together, and you can see where I'm already starting to hide some of the imperfections. I've added a couple of columns there on each side. I've had to stack them, trying to adjust the pitch and stuff to where it slowly tapered up. Was not working and not aesthetically pleasing whatsoever. So I've already started hiding some things. Same thing with that trophy up there. There was a diamond gap where I stuck those two walls. The build is coming together. Hopefully you've learned a few things in this video and you'll come back to see more. Have a good day.